so how was your conversation? Excellent. All right. Then I hope your questions are excellent. So I always like to start in the back. So where do we have a facilitator in the back somewhere? No facilitators in the back? Yes, Richard. You're going to get the microphone?
Okay.
But Rolf has the questions.
I think Rolf
here.
was going to.
Good. And we have a mic here as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it working? Yeah. Our question is first to Barend. Please to explain a little bit more the term tulku. Yeah.
How many minutes?
Before lunch.
Before lunch. Well, there are different kind of tulkus, and in the most simple way, somebody who is hypnotized, is that an English word? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is kind of tulku, and a very low level, and not used by the masters because they always work with voluntary people. Yeah, that did it self-conscious. So in a way, you embody the thoughts or the mind of somebody else. And in the way of Blavatsky, she was embodying, I think during, not all the time, but during many times, many periods of her life, the influence of one of the masters. Personally, I think there were different masters who were influencing her. When she wrote Isis Unfilled, I think there were more Western-orientated masters who were influencing her, where she was a tulku of them. But in some periods of the life, she was, I think, the force on earth of the whole hierarchy of wisdom and compassion. Because in the letter I quote, Kuthumi says that somebody far greater than he himself was entering in her. She was embodying that force. So that is something. HPB was not just a chela, was not a high chela, was a real important, I even can say person, but a real important event that was happening for us.
Okay.
Rolf,
And for this,
Rolf, I'm going to go to the next group, if that's okay, with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there were two questions.
I know, and I've seen one group that had like 5 questions, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to go to Siglinde. Could you pick one of your questions, please?
I think if everybody of our group agrees, I pick out the second question. How can we get to the heart of her teachings? Oh. That was a question arising. And of course, how can we best present Madame Blavatsky as a teacher in the public?
These are 2 questions. We got you there. So what question are we going to answer now?
Okay,
may I
difficult
suggest the first
decide.
one, because the second question is going to come up tomorrow as well.
Okay, then how can we best present Madame Blavatsky as a teacher in the public? That was the first question which arose in our group. I have to present that first, I think.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's ask Jim.
How can we reach the heart through Blavatsky?
Represent Blavatsky to the public, right? Yeah.
Well, certainly the Voice of the Silence is a seminal work that has reached so many people already. In fact, isn't it almost the highest selling book in the theosophical world? I think so. And she addresses the heart in that way that reaches each one of us. But there's some of her other articles are incredible in that regard. But certainly I don't want to be the only one that responds how to reach the heart through Blavatsky.
All right.
if I may say something, I think we are among Theosophists now, and we talk about Blavatsky, but to the public, I think we don't have to emphasize Blavatsky, nor the masters, nor any other person, because then you give them a kind of authority, and you say, well, Blavatsky says so, so it is true. You have to, and Blavatsky said that herself in an article, the Theosophy, the only right for Theosophy to be there is because you can experience it in your own lives, you can see the logic structure of it, so for yourself you can conclude that it's true. So I think the best way to honor Blavatsky and the masters is to tell the public about Theosophy without any reference. And of course we have to have the books and the articles of Blavatsky in the pure form on our libraries, but in telling the public about Theosophy, don't mention too much the names of Blavatsky and others. Just let the public know that there is a hierarchy of compassion which have had many representatives in all the ages that humanity exists, and one of the last was HPB.
All right. Olga?
Well, HPB herself mentioned that the Theosophists should be judged not by their words, but by their actions. And I think that if we look at HPB and how we can present her, is through her work, and in particular through the work of the Theosophical Society. And in 19th century, the work of the Theosophical Society gave that impulse to the humanity towards spirituality, and not just on the side of phenomena, but actually trying to get to the essence of it. It also helped to remove that invisible wall between East and West, and open that curiosity in the mind of humanity towards the teachings of the East and their true meaning.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Could we give the mic to John over here? John, from your group, the most prominent question.
Well,
Thank you very much.
we were very curious, Jim, about your triangle and the three corners, the water, the seven principles, and the part of part, especially the part of parts. Could you comment more on that?
I can only give part of that. Well, of course, the Watcher, another name could be the planetary spirit, is really the part of the hierarchy that represents the entire realm. And then there are different avatars that can come for each one of the races. In there we talked about fourth round, fifth race. And of course, two of the avatars we know is Krishna and Buddha. But there are others, there's two others to come. And so that was the bottom part of the triangle.
Could you talk into the mic, please? Yes, thank you.
Okay.
We like to record this so we can listen to it again.
And it was kind of interesting. Being in a wheelchair, I'm used to always looking up at people. So now I'm looking down at you, Porpin. No, that's okay. But I was struck with the part of the part, with the idea that you can have many levels of avatars rather than the avatar. It was referred to in different parts of the literature that I found, and so it's simply just symbolical of the different hierarchies of level within the term avatar. And the term part of a part was used, so I grabbed onto that. I thought it was. I'm always interested in special things.
All right, thank you very much. Let's go to Jos over here. Jos is here.
Okay, only one question. What in our group was addressed was these words in the title of this presentation, the Messianic Cycle. The question to all three of you is, where does this word come from? What does it mean? And in particular in relation to HPB, or perhaps HPB and H.P. Blavatsky.
Okay. Can somebody warn the kitchen it will be an hour late for lunch? Could we have I don't know, a short try for an answer? Could you give it a shot?
Well, of course, the term Messianic Cycle is now really used in terms of Jesus for Jews. That's a very large movement, I think both in Israel and other parts of the world. So if you hear that term, that's what's usually being referred to. But the Messianic Cycle, as we're using it, really has to do with moving from Pisces into Aquarius in terms of the zodiac. And it's, of course, 2,150 years with controversy over there. But I'm really learning a wonderful discussion a few minutes ago from Yoki Vermeulen that part of the reason this topic was chosen was that it represents almost like a 2,000-year cycle of, and I think you have it in your literature, what will Theosophy be like? What is our responsibility for the next 2,000 years? Something like that. And I thought it was a wonderful idea, but I didn't get it. I'm sorry. But what is our responsibility for this cycle of, because we I think, most agree, are now in the age of Aquarius, which is opening up many, many different vistas of who and what we are, and certainly we have responsibility. I think that was part of the reason. Am I correct, Herman?
Yes. Let's say the motivation behind that question is getting an idea from the different traditions. Do we see Blavatsky as a messenger for just a short period, for instance, 25 years or something like that? Or is he some event in a much bigger cycle and a much bigger activity? Yeah? And you know, from our tradition, we say that at least she is for the coming 2,000 years, and you will find in our literature from Dr. de Brugge that it is even for something like maybe much more than that, something like 8,000-9,000 years. Why that is important, it gives a dimension, but it gives also a greater dimension to literature like the secret doctrine. So that means that there is food for thought in it for in coming thousands of years for us to understand and to develop it in ourselves, yeah? So that was the motivation behind it.
Maybe we can ask Olga to reflect on that shortly?
Sure.
Yeah?
In that, that's how I saw this whole topic as well, what just now Herman said. And interesting, because in reality, HPB herself once said about the secret doctrine that it was not meant just to be an embodiment of just this knowledge, information, but by reading it through our heart, using our intuition, it's supposedly to help to the evolution of our consciousness. Because let's face it, those truths and the ideas, at least, that are written in the secret doctrine, they are indeed very complex. And there is not much around our world right now we can, at least about the cosmogenesis, we can compare or we can think that we can grasp with our mind, just this limited intellect of ours. So it has to come through something that is bigger than us, and perceived from that intuitive principles that we have in our higher nature, So if we look at this from this perspective, then these teachings they're ageless, because evolution is not something that has a destination. It's a process, just like life itself.
Good point. Thank you, Olga. Let's go to Bianca, over here. Could you give the mic to Bianca, please?
I think that people in our group have skipped 2 workshops, and that we have already worked on the 3rd one, or the one tomorrow morning.
So what are you doing
because
tomorrow?
Because we have no questions. Not that we don't have any questions, because we do.
So.
But we were so inspired that we came with a proposal.
Oh, okay. Let's have it.
And so maybe it's too early, but it's never too early for a proposal, maybe. So it's over there, and the idea was thinking about cycles. Is that in 1875, around that period, foundations were laid for the eternal teachings, and that now, in 2015, we can see hints of possibilities, which are opportunities that we as Theosophists should grasp. And it was written down in this proposal for our task together, that the time is ripe to explore possibilities of promoting the idea of universal brotherhood through international organizations. And to make this more or less cryptical sentence a little bit more earthly, we gave an example, and one of the examples could be that the Peace Palace in The Hague is one of the results of such efforts that have been done before. And we think the time is ripe to work on these efforts.
Some food for thought. Thank you very much. Let's go to Erwin over here. Let's go to Reinoud. Yeah. No, let's go to Reinoud. We haven't heard you yet. Yep.
Well,
we'll hear him this afternoon as well.
The question was, Barend, you spoke about that HPB before 1875 did some fundamental work. And my question was, what was the fundamental work HPB did for Theosophy before 1875? Because we had a feeling that it's not just training that she received, but that she did some very fundamental work before 1875, and that was the question.
All right, thank you very much.
Well, it's not an easy one. There's almost nothing found in the literature about that period. All that we know about that is from the book of Sinnett, who wrote those fragments based on letters Blavatsky wrote to him. So there are not a lot of details, but in my opinion, my view, she visited all the old mysteries all over the world. If you look at her voyages throughout the world, they always went to that places where in the antiquity was a mystery school. For instance, in Alexandria, in Egypt, in Lebanon, in South America, in Java. And I think there was some very mystical reason for that, because she was so important, and the cycle we were entering was so important that she had to revive all those forces behind that mystery schools. If you compare it maybe with our tiny situation in Holland, before the World War we had a lodge in Arnhem, and it was closed, and then a certain moment we had to revive that source again, yeah. And now it's a very inspiring lodge, and in a much bigger way, she did the same all over the world to reopen all those mysteries. If you read the books of Blavatsky, especially The Secret Doctrine and Isis, it's so difficult because he quotes from all the sage all over the world, yeah, from the Popol of the Native Americans, of the books, the Sanskrit works, Babylonian, every part of the world. She has the holy books of it. So she had to revive, in my view, all those mystery schools again. That's
Good question. All right.
And at the same time, it was, of course, a very severe training, because he had to master her own nature. It's interesting. The master said wrote to Synod, I think in a letter of 1980, that she already had given a whole life for the cause. That was just a few years after the founding of the Theosophical Society. So that means that already, let's say from the age of 20, when she met Master Moria, till the founding of the society, she was working for the masters and working for the cause.
All right, thank you. Henk?
Well, our group had in fact 3 questions, so now it's the difficulty to take one only. Well, 2 are very much related to HPB. So, well, I choose one, and that is you can get the impression that the message of HPB, which she brought, that had an enormous influence in the West, or the Western-like countries. And was it really meant worldwide? Of course, she was in India, but how strongly did she also reach the East? And there was, for instance, the idea of Russia. I mean, is there? How about did she also reach Russia with all the people there? So something that would be that was a question which.
Perhaps Olga can comment on that.
Because I'm Russian,
No,
right?
no.
Well, I think her message, of course, wasn't just addressed and her whole work just to the Western world. Because if we know that the masters also, through Theosophical Society, wanted to help India to get back to their roots, and not to be influenced by the missionaries, etc., to lose their own culture and their Eastern tradition, which was a lot of done also from through work of Olga, as we know. And what's regarding Russia? Russia has a very rich tradition in a lot of things, culture, folklore, and religion, of course, as well. And it's always been a very big part of Russian life and the culture and the essence of our spirit. And if you know, if you look through the letters that HPB wrote to her family, she actually it can be seen as a contradiction in a way, because you know how we know that Theosophy in Theosophical Society motto is there is no religion higher than truth. However, she always was in favor, or at least she could feel it in her heart, the Orthodox religion that is Russian main religion. And I think perhaps because she moved away from Russia and spent most of her life abroad, and most of her teachings were written also in English rather than in Russian, it created a gap between the Russian people and these teachings for a while. But I don't think it is this way now, especially after that stage that Russian culture went through, that Soviet Union, when all religion and any type of religious spiritual thinking was completely forbidden. So now it's the stage of this regeneration that all former Soviet Union countries are going through, and including Russian people. And I believe it will just simply take time, because Theosophy also, it unites all religions and all philosophies under this, the concentration on the essence which lies behind them. And for that, we also need discernment. We can't just think that all directions of spiritual ideas are the same. So we still have to be very careful and think for ourselves what is true in whatever we want to explore.
Excellent, thank you very much. Last group, somebody here is used to wearing many hats. That's you, Barend. So you also a workshop leader, right? From your group, or could you appoint anybody in your group to pick the last question for this morning?
Denson, eh?
Denson. Denson, and I have a difficult question. Could you talk into the mic?
Oh.
Yes. Because you get enthusiastic and then we're afraid that you're going to hit somebody.
Yeah. We had a lot of discussions that we even had difficulty coming up with a question. There were so many. But the question that came up is, how should we understand the difference or relationship between the star of individuality, which is mentioned in the secret doctrine, and the star of personality?
Star.
Yeah, a star. We were born, different stars. S-T-A-R.
Yes. Okay, we got it. Thank you. Who would like to comment? Jim?
Hopefully, I think...
Yeah, here's the mic. Good luck.
One thing I referred to in terms of this answer, is Blavatsky the person to represent the Messianic Cycle? I put in, is the personality of H.P. Blavatsky the person, which I think is a little different, because she seemed to stand for a flow of powerful energy that came through a number of beings, and maybe she can symbolize, in that sense, the avatar, or however you want to call it, for that particular cycle. But I think there is a difference between the personality. There's a reference somewhere, and I can't find it, and I begged Gene to find it for me, and he didn't. In fact, she even refers to herself. There's a difference between HPB and H.P.B. There's a slash in between there. I read it somewhere, and I can't find it again. But the idea was that she represented two different streams of consciousness in that particular way. So, Danson, I don't know if I came anywhere close to what you're talking about, but I hope I did.
Okay, that leaves something to ponder over during lunch, because the sun is shining. Lunch is ready to be served.